Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is July 14th, 2023, and we are going to be talking about the brand new visa bulletin that just came out today for August 2023. In this video, we will discuss what kind of movement there was for August 2023 from July 2023 visa bulletin edition. Also, I will briefly explain what each graph represents and what kind of family preference categories, to what kind of family preference categories the visa bulletin is applicable to. So if you are brand new to visa bulletin and if you want to learn on how to use it so that you can stay on top of it, make sure to check it out and watch further. If you don't need to, and if you just want to hear the updates, make sure to subscribe to this channel. As always, before beginning this video, as I mentioned in every video, I'm going to mention here, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos in general on this channel are directly from official government sources. In this case, of course, US Department of State. So I'm going to open the July 2023 and August 2023 visa bulletins, and I'm going to briefly go over some of the details if you're brand new to the visa bulletin. If you have the I-130 family reunification petition and you are just now getting into the understanding on how to read the visa bulletin so that you can understand how long of the backlog you have to be waiting on for your specific family preference categories. So in the visa bulletin, for family sponsored preferences, you will find two graphs. There's a graph A, final action dates, and there's graph B, dates for filing. So the final action date, graph A, represents the full length of the backlog that you will be waiting on for a specific family preference category, for a specific chargeability area. We'll get to that in a little bit. But basically, if you want to see from the beginning to the very end on when the immigrant visa is going to be available, you will be looking at the graph A, final action date. Now, if you want to know when the NVC portal is going to be opening up in order so that you start your documentary qualification process, in that case, you will be looking at the graph B, dates for filing. Okay, so that's briefly. If you have any questions along the way, just drop them in the comments below and I will answer in one of the videos where I answer the questions on this channel. So there are four family preference categories that are in general, and there are obviously subcategories. We're not going to talk about the subcategories in this video, but four main family preference categories. There's first preference, which is unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens who are over 21. Unmarried over 21 of US citizens. The second family preference categories is divided between the two, F2A and F2B, and this pertains to permanent residents. And in the F2A, it's spouses and children under 21 of permanent residents, and in F2B are unmarried children, unmarried sons and daughters over 21 of permanent residents. Now the third preference category is married sons and daughters of US citizens, and then the fourth preference category is brothers and sisters of adult US citizens. Obviously, if you are, child under 21 or a spouse of US citizen, then this is not applicable to you at all because you are in immediate relative category. Also, if you're a parent of a US citizen, you are in immediate relative category, so you won't have to be dealing with the backlog. Basically, there is no cap. The reason why we have the backlog is because there's a limited amount of immigrant visas available each year, and there's more applications for family reunification coming in each year, more than there's available immigrant visas. So all of that extra amount of applications carries over to the next year, and then the next year, and then the next year, and the backlog keeps on growing. So the visa bulletin is showing us how much of the backlog is left, basically when the priority date is becoming current. That's the wording that is being used. So what I'm going to do now here, I'm going to scroll down to we'll start with the graph A, and I will briefly explain what you're looking at in the graph A, and I'll do it this way so that I can compare quickly. This is for July 2023 and this is for August 2023. So basically you're looking at four different family preference categories: F1, F2A, F2B, F3, and F4. Now, there's also a thing called chargeability area, and it basically defines which country you're from. Now, there's only four countries that have a separate chargeability area. It's China, India, Mexico, and Philippines. So if you're from one of those countries, you will be looking at the correct column pertaining to that country. If you are in any other country, then you will be looking at all chargeability area. Basically, that's the very first column right here. So most of the people will be looking at right here. And then of course we have the dates in each of these, and that's the priority date. So for example, if you are, let's say, a son of a US citizen and you are over 21 and your priority date is in let's say January 2020, which means that your father has submitted or your father or your mother, who is US citizen, submitted the I-130 petition back in January 2020. It was accepted by USCIS in January 2020, and you got the receipt dated January 2020. That's the priority date. If you want to see how long you will be waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa, you will be looking at the graph A, so F1, because son over 21 of a US citizen. Right now it is showing January 2015. It means that basically, as of right now, August, because we're looking at August 2023 visa bulletin, as of August 2023, right, we're still in July, but they already know for August, people with the priority date in January 2015 in F1 category from all chargeability area, so rest of the world, are just now getting their immigrant visas. So if your priority date is in January 2020, it means that you still have another 5 years, according to what we are looking at right now. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I will answer them in one of the videos. But that's how you make those rough estimates. Again, these are rough estimates. Why? Because the backlog keeps on accumulating, so it only grows, it only gets a little bit more. So sometimes we look at the visa bulletins and there is no movement, nothing is moving. So let's see what changed in August 2023 visa bulletin now that you know how to use it. So this is July, this is August. So let's start with the graph A, F1, or all chargeability. We're looking December 2014. So 15th December 2014, in July 2023, moved to January 2015. Now it's only about 15 days, so only half a month basically of movement, but still it is nice to see the movement. Some movement is better than no movement for sure. Now the same goes for China. As you can see, there is some movement for China. Same goes for India. Now in Mexico, unfortunately, there was no movement at all. As you can see, it is in July 2023 visa bulletin. It's showing 22nd April 2001, and the same thing in August. And the same goes for Philippines. No movement for F1 category for Philippines at all, unfortunately. Okay, let's move to the F2A now. We're going to be looking at this row right here. So F2A. Let's see, this is July 2023, and in August we got, okay, we do have some movement. Let's see, 8th September 2020, and now we are, oh wow, it actually moved back quite a lot. It actually moved, wow, it moved to October 2017. So it moves 3 years back, which means that the backlog, that's the backlog that accumulated, and I am honestly surprised to see that much of the accumulation of the backlog. I'm thinking it might still, we're still seeing some numbers coming out from the times of pandemic, and you got to keep in mind, during the pandemic everything was closed. There was no immigrant visas that were issued, so on top of already existing backlog that kind of keeps accumulating every year, we had all of this downtime, which was approximately 1.5 years, 2 years. So we are now seeing the results of this downtime, and it is really bad. Wow. So it's almost 3 years it moved backwards. Wow, that is really bad. Okay, so let's see for China. That's for the rest of the world. For China, the same exact thing. For India, we're looking right here, same exact thing. Let's see what happened for Mexico. So for Mexico, November 2018, and now it's September 2016, so it moved 2 years back for Mexico, and then for Philippines, September 2020 and October 2017. Wow, so not good news for F2A, unfortunately. That's children and spouses of permanent residents. That's not very good news, unfortunately. Okay, let's move on to the F2B, see what happened for the F2B category. So this is July. We're looking at July right now. Currently at for all chargeability is 22nd September 2015. Let's see what happened to F2B in August. Okay, so it's the same thing. No movement so far for F2B in August. For all chargeability, China is no movement as well. India, no movement. Mexico, no movement. And then Philippines, no movement at all. So looks like no changes for the F2B category. Okay, so let's move on to the F3 now. Let's see, F3, all chargeability currently showing for July 2023, not currently, for July 2023 is showing 22nd December 2008. So let's see, January 2009. Okay, so positive movement on F3 category for all chargeability. Not a lot, only about, well, what is it, 8 days, 9 days plus 8, like 17 days. A little bit more than half of the month, but again, some positive movement is definitely better than no movement, and definitely better than not a very good movement like we've seen on F2A. It's not just not very good, it's bad. It's really bad. It retrogressed big time. Okay, moving further to China, 22nd December 2008. Okay, the same thing for China, the same thing for India. Unfortunately, no movement whatsoever for Mexico for F3 category, and then the Philippines, no movement for Philippines either. All right, so let's take a look at F4, force preference category, which is brothers and sisters of US citizens. As of July 2023, the priority date that was current in July 2023 was April 22nd, 2007. So let's see. Visa Bulletin for August 2023, no movement whatsoever for all chargeability. No movement for China. Let's see, India, no movement for India, no movement for Mexico, and no movement for Philippines. So no movement whatsoever for the final action dates for the force preference categories. Okay, so now let's move on to the graph B down here. And again, graph B, if you want to know, if you're already in the process of family reunification, your I-130 was approved by USCIS and your application package was transferred to the NVC for further processing. A lot of times, if you're far enough from the availability of the immigrant visa, the NVC portal is going to be locked. You can log into it, but you won't be able to become documentarily qualified. And if you are not familiar with documentary qualification process, make sure to check out on this channel. I do have a video called Documentarily Qualified. What does that mean? And in that video, I show basically everything that is involved in the process of becoming documentarily qualified: submitting the DS-260, affidavit of support, paying the fees, submitting the civil documents. So if you want to know, if you're logging into your NVC portal and it is locked, and if you want to know when it's going to be opening up so that you can start your documentary qualification process, you will be looking at the graph B, dates for filing. So let's start with July 2023 Visa Bulletin. I did it the same way. This is July, this is August. So we're gonna highlight in graph B now, first family preference category, all chargeability area, September 1st, 2017, and in August we got no movement at all whatsoever for August. For China, no movement. For India, no movement. For Mexico, no move. Oh, actually, you know what? There is some movement here for Mexico. So looks like some positive movement for Mexico in F1. It was showing in July 2023, January 1st, 2003. And in August, it is showing April 2005. So there was 2 years and let's see, January, February, March, April. So like 2 years and 3 months movement positive movement forward. So great, really good to see some movement on the graph B at least, especially for Mexico, because Mexico is one of those the chargeability area where the wait times are just insane for some of the categories. So it's really nice to see some movement for Mexico. Okay, so looking at Philippines now, April 2015 and August, no movement for, so the only movement we've seen, some positive movement on the graph B, was for Mexico from January 2003 to April 2005. Now moving further to the F2A, it's showing current for all of the chargeability areas, and it's still showing current on August 2023 Visa Bulletin. But honestly, seeing how much F2A retrogressed in the graph A for from 2020 to 2017, that's 3 years of going back, so 3 years of extra backlog. I would suspect that most likely in the next few Visa Bulletins editions, in the next few editions of the Visa Bulletin, we will see this no longer being current. Why? Because it's highly unlikely that NVC will continue opening up the portal so early before the availability of the immigrant visa. Why? Because you have to keep in mind that you become documentarily qualified with certain documents, with certain information, and then if you're waiting, what is it, it's 2017, that is 5 years plus 3, 8 years. 8 years you're waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa. In 8 years, there's a lot of things that can change. And usually NVC, they open up the portal about 2 years, maybe year and a half before the availability of the immigrant visa. So I'm thinking we're gonna see some no longer current in the next few Visa Bulletin editions. Okay, so moving further to F2B now. Right here, let me highlight this. This is F2B July 2023. So we got January 1st, 2017. Still January 1st, 2017 in August 2023 Visa Bulletin. So no change there. For China, no change. For India, no change. For Mexico, okay, so we did get some movement for Mexico as well here from April 2002 in July 2023 Visa Bulletin to August 2004. So again, April, May, June, July, August. So about 2 years and 3 or 4 months. That's pretty good. Okay, so we've seen some positive movement for Mexico as well for F2B category. And then Philippines, no change for Philippines. Okay, so let's move on to the third preference category here, F3. I'm going to highlight it on July 2023 Visa Bulletin. So all chargeability area is March 1st, 2010. Let's see, August 2023. No movement for all chargeability for F3. China, no movement for F3. India, no movement. Let's see, Mexico, no movement for Mexico either. And then Philippines, no movement for F3 for Philippines either. So let's move on to the final one, fourth preference, family preference category. So all chargeability in July 2023, it was showing March 2008. Let's see, for August, it is March 2008, no movement. For China, March 2008, no movement. For India, February 2006, no movement. Mexico, April 2001, no movement. And then Philippines, April 2004, so no movement for Philippines either. So looks like the biggest news that we have and the biggest movement was not a good movement that we've seen for F2A category on the final action dates, graph A, for all chargeability for China and for India. Let's see, actually I'm going to take a look at the Philippines. I think for Philippines too, yes, for Philippines as well, and then for Mexico as well. So not so good movement for F2A, unfortunately. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Like I said, on this channel I try to do every day where I answer the comments. It goes by the volumes, called Answering Your Immigration Questions, and right now I think we're on volume 136 or 137. So hopefully tomorrow I will do the next volume where I will probably be answering a lot of questions from this Visa Bulletin, and all your questions are always welcome Again, if if you're struggling to understand something, it does take some time, and I'm an immigrant myself, so and I had the I-130 petitions in the past, and I have some that I'm waiting on, and this is personal to me. I'm also eagerly waiting for the new visa bulletin to come out to see if there is any movement, and unfortunately for me there was absolutely no movement. But I know that there are people that are even more disappointed than I am, because there was some negative movement for F2A category for everyone, and it's really sad to see. So I definitely can relate and can understand. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, they are more than welcome on this channel. Thank you for your time, for watching. God bless, and I'll see you all in the next video.